Welcome to another episode of Power of the Teacher. In this episode, we are going to explore relationship building culture in the school. As you head back to school, we just wanted to bring some topics that you can consider how you can embed discourse just to make your classroom even more effective. Maybe this episode will confirm some of the things that you've already doing, or it might just give you some ideas about some of the things that have made impact in my classroom or my guest classroom. And today I have the honor to sit with Ricardo Delforce.
Thank you, Wanessa, for having me. I really appreciate you inviting me here.
All right, thank you for joining us. Ricardo, your topic is so interesting, the power of classroom culture.
Yeah. I think classroom culture is like a key aspect of a successful teacher's career. Like, in order to be successful in the classroom, in order to get all the things that we hope, all the scores, all the data, and everything that leads to like positive results, I think classroom culture is like the foundation of all that.
It starts
Truly.
with culture. Well, with that being said, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh man, this is the hardest question I think I got right now. The I would say about myself, my name is Ricardo Delfos. I am in this profession now, probably about approaching about 10 years now,
Mm-hmm.
right? I graduated from Florida A&M University with my bachelor's degree in political science and pre-law, and then I went on to Florida A&M University College of Law, and I swear I was going to be one of the biggest attorneys in the world.
All right.
But I was very fortunate and blessed to actually get the opportunity while I was in law school to kind of um interact with this field of education, right? I was asked to kind of be a mentor to some upcoming and rising 1L students at my law school,
Mm-hmm.
and I got the opportunity to teach them and mentor them over the summer, and got bit with that teaching bug, unfortunately. Financially, at least. Financially, at least. I'm
But
just kidding.
here we are, and we are
Yes.
more than grateful for
No.
all the impacts that
Yes.
you get to make in the classroom.
Hmm.
What made you want to pursue teaching though after a law degree?
Passion and love. Like, I think there's nothing about it. That's why I say I joke about saying unfortunately. I mean, very fortunately for me that I found something that I'm very passionate about. Never thought I would get into education, but that experience of my law school of running into students to where I got the chance to mentor them, see
Mm-hmm.
their growth, right? Have the ability to talk to them, pour into them and everything like that was something that I just really found valuable, and I felt like really hit me in a place where I felt like I wanted to do this every day, right?
Oh,
I wanted to
okay.
do this to be my career in life, right? I think so far at that point in time, I was looking at education through the lens of which I work in now, but the K-12 experience of
Mm-hmm.
those kids and how difficult it is to take care of kids and in the classroom and to teach them. And I think my experience at the law school and then becoming an adjunct after graduating from law school really taught me that like education is more than just the problems that we see, the problems that
Mm-hmm.
we experienced as we were kids, as we came through the ranks. It's also the experiences of showing people how we can grow, pouring into others and everything like that. That sense of purpose that it kind of creates of helping somebody get to where they want to achieve or helping them get down their path. So that's what inspired me to get into education. Is I just found a love for it, right? I just found the enjoyment
It's
of
just
just,
in you.
yeah, it just was in me, I guess you could say. And I truly never thought it was, but I find joy in every aspect of education, right? From our professional developments to also working with teachers to just interacting with the kids, seeing the kids and everything like that. That's one of my favorite parts of it.
I was gonna say, I think like that's my favorite part of education, like seeing the kids, seeing how excited they are to see you. Like if we go 3 weeks and don't go to school, next time they see me, they're like, "Oh, where were you? Like, why
Yes,
didn't I see you
yes,
for the last 3 weeks?
yeah,
What happened? I thought we
yes.
meet every Tuesday. Like, why are you not here?"
Exactly,
And the level
exactly.
of accountability to them is just like, I
Yeah,
don't know, it brings me so much joy to be
yeah.
able to be that light to them.
Yeah, it does. It really brings me joy to not only be able to interact with them and see them on a daily basis, but to see their growth, right? One of my favorite things that I actually got to experience this year was I ran into some kids at Wekiva High School, right, that I used to teach
Oh,
at
oh,
Lockhart
okay.
Middle School, and running into them and them seeing me, and then even like I've had some personal changes like physically and
Mm-hmm.
everything like that, and to see their appreciation for even like hyping me up, like since I've lost some weight and everything, like since the last time they saw me, they were like, Mr. Duffus, you look good. You get what I'm saying? And they were encouraging and they were so joyful to see me. And I think that's the aspect of it that truly, we have our challenging days and everything like that, but that always brings me back to like the root of why I do it, right? I love seeing the kids. I love seeing them um being happy to see me. Um it makes me reflect on maybe I gave them a positive experience that they really enjoyed, that they took something from my classroom
Mm-hmm.
and they enjoy experiencing me, or having the experience of learning from me. Um and then also, I like you said, I love seeing the kids and just seeing them grow, the things that they do, the questions that they have. You get what I'm saying? And they're the funniest in the world. I mean, truly, like all their different personalities and everything like that is just, it's just a wealth of, I don't know. I just think it's a wealth of personalities that bring you the sense of like accomplishment when you are able to build those connections with
And each kid
many
is
students.
different. Each kid wants something different.
Yeah.
One kid might just want you to just wave, and then the other
Yeah.
one be like, "Why can't you hug me? Hug me,
Yes,
like hug
exactly.
me properly.
Yes.
Like this is
Yeah.
not a hug."
Yeah. Or that one kid that's like, I love the fact that you talk about this. Can we talk about this more? I got questions about this. Or like, as I explained, law was my prior career prior to this, and talking about law, all the questions that they have, and not necessarily always the questions of like, hey, I have a friend who did this, you know, the questions of like, well, Mr. Delphos or Dr. Delphos, what is it that, what happens when this happens? Or why is it when this occurs in the news, this was the result, right? I love talking about that inquisitive nature of them as well, to give them the tools and the resources to be well-rounded adults, you know?
And I like that the fact that they know they could come to you and
Oh,
ask you about these things and be
yeah.
like, okay, I trust your perspective. Like,
Yeah.
so why these things are happening, or
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
Yeah. That's just the relationship building aspect of it, hopefully.
okay. Thinking back in like when you were students, or even if you ever played sports, any of those, was there any teacher that impacted you?
Oh man, that's a great question. Yes, there was. I have two.
Okay.
Um, I have Miss Tyson. Miss Tyson was my third grade teacher, and the reason why she impacted me so much was I got held back in first grade,
Okay.
and when I
Mm.
got held back in first grade, um, that took a toll on me, you know, personally. It made you feel as a kid who was young and in school and impressionable, obviously, encountering other kids that, you know, you were in class with, and
Mm-hmm.
they moved on, and you're still a little bit behind them. So Miss Tyson, when I got to third grade, really instilled that feeling that I was capable, that I can
Okay.
do it, um, that I wasn't the kid who I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't as good as my peers and everything. And I think that belief, that relationship building that she had with me, is what instilled that I was capable of achieving things within my educational career. And so that built up a little bit of that strength and that faith, along with my family as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Um, and then my favorite teacher of them all, Mr. Roberts in high school. I went to Haines City High School, and he was my criminal justice teacher.
Okay.
And
So what
so
did we like about Mr. Robbie?
Mr. Roberts is what I feel like when I was when I was a teacher, I kind of reflected back on and painting outside of the box. That non-traditional aspect of approaching education,
Mm-hmm.
pushing your kids to think, um, building the relationships with them and everything like that, having conversations, because I've never had deep conversations with teachers like I did with Mr. Roberts about where do I want to go in the future. And he's the one who sparked my interest in criminal justice and law and every. I had a little bit of an interest, but he helped to foster it a little bit more. And Mr. Roberts' ability to take us on field trips, experiences, the activities that we did in the classroom and stuff like that, he made learning fun. He made it enjoyable, and he was very personable. So it made me build that trust in him, or develop that trust within
Mm-hmm.
him, which made me enjoy the class even more, which helped me to signal or understand that like this is somebody who actually cares. This is somebody who actually wants to see me grow. This is somebody that I think has my best interest
Mm-hmm.
in heart. So yeah, those are the two.
Do you think he's part of the reason like you're so passionate about classroom culture?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Because I think back, I mean, what better experience than to reflect on your past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where are the moments that I had the most fun in the classroom? And it was when the teacher had a relationship, not only just with me, but everybody in the classroom, when there was some semblance of this was a shared space, that we are all in here to work together, that we are all in here to have a relationship and to foster growth with one another. Like, I know I'm using terms that, like, in an
Mm-hmm.
educational realm, but just to keep it more simplistic, the belief that we're capable, right? That I care about you, that I
Mm-hmm.
want to know your well being. And I'm gonna be tough on you. I don't think people realize how, like, structure really gets kids to buy into you too as well. Because they see when you place that structure on them that you're doing it because you come from a sense of belief in them, that they're capable of rising to your expectations. So yes, his experience and that understanding of um culture and relationship building is what created that belief in me, is what inspired me to apply that and create that passion in me as well.
Definitely. And when you talked about structure, because a lot of times we might think like, oh, the kids get along with me better when I don't have all these structures.
Hmm.
But like I remember one of the kid I had, Malik, and he'll be listening with his iPad, AirPods on. Once he walk in front of my door, before he comes in, he
Hmm.
pop the case, he put the
Hmm.
headphones in, and he's like, "Good morning, how are you today?" And then he'll sit in the front, he'll get all his work done, and it
Hmm.
would be crazy because everybody would be
Hmm.
like,
Hmm. Hmm.
but he knew, he's like, oh, I know you. I know you ain't gonna play with me like,
Yeah.
and I wasn't. I love
Yeah.
you, and
Yeah.
but when it comes to this work, we're gonna get this work done. We're gonna get this diploma,
Yeah.
and then you can have all the funds in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. It's so funny that you bring up that story because I think about numerous occasions where structure was what helped to develop the relationship with a student. And I'm hoping one of my students catch this video, so they can
I
leave a
hope so
comment.
too.
I remember in particular my very first year, I had a student. His name was Israel, and Israel and I didn't have the best first interaction with one another, but it was because he didn't have an expectation. All the other teachers were so accustomed to him misbehaving and to doing whatever he wants and speaking to him however he wants. Um and they gave in, not, I wouldn't say gave up on him, but gave into the fact that they thought he was kind of that bad apple,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I told him, no, that's not the respect, or that's not the way you're going to treat me, right? I'm not treating you that way. This is not that type of relationship. And so with that structure, and throughout the course of the year, he came to me more and more. We built the relationship. We would talk and everything like that. When he got in trouble, I'll pull him to the side and everything like that. I'll be like, man, Israel, why did you do that? Like, does that even make sense to you to do and behave in that manner? And that structure kind of led to us kind of developing that relationship where he thought about it a little bit more before he reacted in certain situations. And he wanted to live up to that expectation of that structure of, like, not disappointing me, right? Because I even
Mm-hmm.
remember one time he got a referral and he came to me. You get what I'm saying? To tell me about the situation before I heard it from anybody else.
And that shows you the level of respect because he's like, okay, no, he cares about me. Like,
Yeah,
I should have not done that, but
yeah,
I did it.
yeah,
But I like the fact that he knew he could come to you.
yeah.
Because a lot of
Exactly,
times when we do something wrong, we don't think we can go to that person. But
exactly.
he felt comfortable to come to you.
And I think one of the biggest things that I learned from that situation is being consistent,
Mm-hmm.
right? With that structure and that expectation of what you're expecting out of the student leads to the results where they appreciate it. So I remember at the end of that year, it was the very last day of school, and the students were tasked to write appreciation letters to maybe somebody, like a family member or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wrote a letter to me.
Aw,
Yeah, and
that's
a letter
nice.
I still have in my email, and I read from time to time to kind of motivate me when you go through those hard days of, like, hey, am I doing this? Like, can I do this and everything like that? His motivation of, like, being a father figure in a way and instilling that patience with him is what he kind of relates to me. So it was impactful.
Definitely. And these are some of the reason why I started this podcast to begin with, right?
Hmm.
Because you have those hard days as teachers that you're like, can I do something else? Or like,
Yeah.
maybe I should think about something else. But then when you think about the impact that you
Hmm.
get to make on a kid on a daily basis, it's like it's satisfied. Like, it's like a passion in you. It's just, I don't know,
Yeah.
brighten my day. It's
Yeah.
not about anything else. It's
Yeah.
just knowing I made an impact on you.
No, it really does. And I don't know if I'm going too long on this point, but, like, honestly, truly, it is a philosophy that I apply to life. And I think I try to live by, right, is treat people how you want to be treated,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, there's no point of being upset and angry all the time. Bring joy to people's lives. Be happy. Enjoy life because life is so short. And as somebody who's dealt with loss in recent years,
Hmm.
that's even become more prominent of a fixture in my life and in my mentality of approaching work and approaching life in general. Is just bring joy to people's lives. Aspire them to be better, in whatever way.
It's funny at work. I'll say hi to so many people, and they'll be like, "When I said you know these people," I'm like, "No,"
No,
but like I remember I said hi and I give them a hug.
yeah,
I don't need to
exactly.
know you.
Yeah,
I just want to love on
yeah, exactly.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there's no better time to talk about classroom culture than
Hmm.
now, as we are entering like second or third week of school. So,
Hmm.
when you're thinking about classroom culture, people often focus on curriculum,
Hmm.
but you talk a lot about culture, and there's nothing wrong with focusing on curriculum, right?
Yeah.
Why is classroom culture so important?
I think classroom culture is what leads you into having a successful curriculum, right? Um, in any aspect, in any concept, or any subject matter that you're talking about, it takes the kids to understand it, right? To be critical thinkers, to develop their understanding through inquiry or through the conversations that they have with one another. So, classroom culture, I think, is that first aspect that if you don't have and you don't make it feel like that safe space, if it doesn't feel like a student centric space where students feel like they can contribute and the teacher is there to just facilitate it,
Mm-hmm.
then you create that barrier instantly, right? Kids are not open. Kids are a little bit more reserved. Kids are a little bit more guarded. So classroom culture creates that first entry point, right? And the kids trust you, and we know trust doesn't come day one,
Mm.
right? It's the gradual understanding that this culture is going to foster growth within not only that teacher but in the students. So is the classroom culture conducive to kids sharing their ideas and their perspectives in a respectful manner? We always got to remember that it has to be very respectful. Also, is the classroom culture supportive to that teacher's ability to help the students grow, right? If the teacher hasn't fostered a classroom culture or created a culture where respect structures are in place and everything like that, the environment comes a little bit more chaotic, right? Because now you're looking for kids are now bringing in to the classroom what they perceive this time should be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if they don't have that structure and they don't have that culture in that classroom of, well, the expectation is we're going to learn, but we're going to have fun with it, or we're going to enjoy it, or if the classroom culture is this is more of like a sit and get, and we're going to teach you, but you're not necessarily
You're not
involved,
playing a part.
you're not playing a part, then that student is going to feel like, well, why am I here? Right? Why do I need to learn? They don't obviously care to hear my perspective on things. So that's why classroom culture is so important.
All right. So thinking about everything that you just said, it made me think of one classroom I used to walk in. At first, it was an advanced group, right? But they'll
Hmm.
come in and it was just, and I remember one time I was like, we're not, like, that's
Hmm.
not who we are.
Yeah.
And then they're looking at me like strange, like, hold up, this is our classroom. You're a stranger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna be here once a week, so
Yeah.
we're not gonna behave that way.
Hmm.
And then just started to set like some of the expectation. And then it'll be like, whenever I release them for discourse, I'm like, I can hear all the conversations. I need you to stay on topic. I need you to talk
Hmm.
about the math. And
Hmm.
then, and it was funny because they start testing it. And then when they realize, like, no, she can hear me from over there,
Hmm.
then it became like, now when you release them, they just
Yeah.
talk about math. But it took like a shift from, no, this is not fun time. You can
Yeah.
just come play, talk to your friends.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk,
Yeah. Yeah.
but just about content.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think that's where that classroom culture comes in of understanding what your students need, right? So that classroom culture to me was where you're reflective of your students' needs or you're reflective of what the students experience, right? So in that circumstance, like you're saying, like I would also reflect back to times where if I knew our students need a little bit of time to talk,
Mm-hmm.
and I know this doesn't sound like the advice we should be giving our teachers, but 5 minutes of your time to talk to them about whatever they want to talk about, right? As long as it's appropriate for school, um, could create wonders, right? If it's 5 minutes of their time when they first come in, or you're introducing the, or you're meeting them at the door, and you're like, "How's your day going?" Or "How did the game go last night?" Or I hear you love Fortnite, right? Back in my day, I used to, when TikTok was just blowing up and Instagram, it was whatever trend was coming out. Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when the game Among Us came out. I played the game because I heard so many of my students playing it, and just creating that sense of like, well, let's have a relationship about something that you like to talk about or experience. So That's the way I kind of look at classroom culture. It's like a little bit of a give and take, right? If I give you 5 minutes of my time, you're going to give me the rest of the time to
To
work on the
focus.
things. Yeah, the focus. So
No, but that's interesting that you've gone as far as like learning how to play some of their games. Because for some of the boys that was in my rooms, if
mhm.
I knew they played basketball or soccer, whatever they play during the weekend, I'd be like, okay, can you give me a schedule ahead of time? And then I'll
Yeah,
just pick one and I'll go to one game. And it's crazy what it will do for me in return. Because that one game I went to, I don't know your coach, I know your
yes,
mom, I know
yes,
dad.
yes,
And then they turn out to just be like,
yeah,
what do you need from me? And just do the work. But then we can talk about the game. We can talk about
yeah,
how those things went.
yeah.
And it plays wonder because think about it. Who asked them how the game was? Who asked them
Exactly,
anything? Like
exactly. Outside of their
completely
just
passionate
family.
about.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So here's my next question for you. If you walk into a classroom for the first time, what tells you it has a healthy culture?
Ooh, a healthy culture. So I'm not gonna just start with just saying, well, if I hear discourse, right, it's the teacher engaging in conversations with the students. I think a healthy culture starts from the door. I'm just gonna
Okay.
emphasize this even more. It starts from how the kids enter into the room, how that teacher interacts with those students that they enter into the room, the conversations that you're hearing. So, to kind of answer your question more solid, a healthy classroom culture is there procedures, clear procedures that kids seem to be following, right? And
Mm-hmm.
instructions. If conversations are happening, what are those conversations about? Right? Are they about the work? Are they about the activity? Are they about something outside of the classroom? Along with a healthy classroom culture, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
a healthy classroom culture also comes from the perspective of seeing how does the teacher interact with those students, right? Is a teacher is the teacher circling around the room? Are they engaging with the students? Or are they kind of treating them from an arm's distance, right? Are you just standing and delivering from the front of the classroom? Are you just standing or sitting at your desk? Healthy classroom culture comes from the interactions of everybody in that classroom. Is there healthy conversation? If there's not healthy conversation, if you walk in and during a period and kids are sitting there and they're getting their work done and the teacher seems to be leading that charge, I can tell what a healthy classroom culture is. If there are good structures and systems in place, if you can see that there's some semblance of order,
Mm-hmm.
to it, that's when you could tell there's a good, healthy classroom culture. Um, and in the concept of like seeing it in practice is I'm gonna keep going back to that engaging in conversations, the type of conversations, the smiles that are on the faces, or even the puzzling faces that kids give you when you may give them something that they don't necessarily understand. So that's what classroom culture looks like to me.
Okay. So imagine I could be a first year teacher right now hearing you talk about all this
Hmm.
classroom culture, and I'm like, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So, what are some intentional things that they could put in place
Hmm.
second, first week of school
Hmm.
to help them, or even third week of school to help them build a healthy culture?
Well, I will tell them that classroom culture takes a year-long investment. It's all year long. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
continue to do it, and it's going to ebb and flow, right? There's going to be moments and times where it's like really healthy, and then there's going to be times where something may throw it off. Maybe it's a student that came in from a different period or from a different school and everything like that, and you got to kind of figure out that new dynamic with those students in the classroom. But intentional ways to develop classroom culture. My favorite thing is once again, and like we keep it.
Mm-hmm. Greeting them at the door.
Greeting them at the door, seeing them in the hallway, smiling at them, waving at them, showing interest in them outside of just in your classroom. That's the biggest thing. Um, then I would say also a healthy classroom culture is, or developing a healthy classroom culture is being intentional for praise, right? Kids are getting give you the wrong answer. It's not just simply move on. Show them the praise for actually participating in the classroom and engaging in the learning process, right? We all far too often say, all right, somebody give me an answer and they raise their hand, and if they get it wrong, we're like, we'll just move on. No, praise that student for the fact that they were willing to take the chance in front of their colleagues and in front of their peers to give an answer,
Mm-hmm.
because we know how hard it is to perform in front of others, especially when you're so impressionable at that age. And no matter what age, if we're talking about K through 12, I mean, even our seniors are still a little afraid of speaking in front of their peers. So, um, develop that praise. And then also, go out your way to do something for them. And when I say that is, I was big on phone calls the first week of school back
Okay.
home. right? And I may be giving away my secrets a little bit. So some of my students who
That,
are
that's
watching,
what we want. We want some of the
yes.
secrets. So coming
But
out.
the student that I heard, right? If you're one of those teachers, if you're a new teacher or a veteran teacher, I'm advising you go talk to some of your colleagues and peers that may have had your students prior, or if they didn't. Try to figure out something about those students, right? Try to get a little bit of background and history on them, because it was my mission. The kids that I heard that were difficult, they're gonna be hard. Ooh, watch out for that one and everything like that. They're the ones who got the calls home. And I would pick anything, right? How they exit the classroom. Hey, I'm just calling to tell you that so and so was did amazing in today's classroom. She sat there or he sat there. They were quiet. They were participating and everything like that. And I'm really looking forward to having them in the classroom because they seem really smart and they seem like they're really invested in learning. And then
It
when
does it. It does.
you get what I'm saying?
But it don't only does it with the kid, it does it with the parent.
Exactly.
Because that parent probably is used to getting so many negative phone calls, and then for the first time they're getting this positive phone call from the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It builds that culture of like, oh, you know what? When she called me, I'm gonna answer.
Exactly.
Because it's not the automatic thinking, oh, you must have done something bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're taking back to be like, hold up.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. And I've done those calls where so a mom told me, I know my kid. You sure you're talking about my kid? And I'm like, yes, I'm talking about your child. It's because that intentionality, like you said, I'm bringing down the barriers not only with that student, but I'm bringing down with the parent. If the parent buys into me, the student is too, right? Because not only does that outside of their parents, who do they interact with most? Us, right? So it's creating that collective buy-in between not only just the parent, between the teacher and the student, but the parents as well. And the effort, right? It's the effort. It's the 5 minute. That was a 5 minute phone call that I took.
Sometimes they don't even take 5 minutes. Sometimes it could be quick where you catch the parent, hey, such and such did such an amazing job today.
Exactly.
And I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah.
And I'm this person. If you ever need anything on how to help your kid, feel free to call me. And it builds that relationship right then and there.
It does. And that's what I'm saying where we talk about creating those systems and structures. If you build that relationship from there, systems and structures become easier because then now the kid is like, not only does he respect me, not only does she respect me, but they're expecting more of me. And I know they'll take the time to praise me. And also when they're getting on me or they're chastising me a little bit, I know they're not doing it from the sake of they're one of those other teachers that just don't think I could do it. They're doing it from a perspective of they saw my growth and they see my potential. Hopefully that's what the kids thinking.
And it makes me think of like when you talked about your third grade teacher, because if you think about it, she probably didn't know like what happened in first grade, but by her building those positive culture with you, it breaks for you those patterns from first grade. Like you are capable. So it doesn't matter. A student may not have success in math their whole life or whatever subject. I've had kids that be like, Miss, you don't know. I've not been good at math. Like, I'd be like, that's fine. We still can do today's work though.
Exactly.
And that don't whatever barriers we encounter, we're gonna work to it together.
Yeah.
And sometimes you will see towards the end when they get it, and I'll be like, okay, now go explain it to somebody, and they're looking at me like, you want me to do what?
Yeah.
But when they do it, it's like all those barriers are breaking, and it's just like, oh, I can do these things.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
All right, you gave them quite a bit. So greeting them at the door, yes. That's your big one.
Yes, that's my big one, is being intentional. Not only just greeting at the door. I don't want them to walk away and be like, oh, just that's the only thing. But be intentional. Hallways, any space, go into the cafeteria. Just be intentional developing relationship. And to not sound cliche, because I want to make sure, one of the biggest things coming into this, I wanted to make sure I didn't sound cliche. It's going to take time. And you're not going to win over everybody, right? But if you truly invest, kids will see, even if you don't invest in that one child, they'll see how you invest in others, right? I can't tell you how many times the classroom culture that I built in my classroom helped me to build relationship with kids that weren't in my classroom because they saw the way I treated kids. And kids talk.
They do.
So
really
it gets around. It gets around.
It gets around really fast. And then as you talk about going to lunch, and not every kid needs the same thing, right?
No.
Like that used to be one of the things that I used to tell my children. They'd be like, well, you celebrated his birthday. And I was like,
Hmm.
That's not, but that may not be what you need, right?
Exactly.
So it's about thinking about equity. You need something different than the other person. Maybe for
Exactly.
you, it's greeting you at the door and talking to you, ask you how the game was.
Yeah.
But maybe for this person, it's just me sitting and asking them their plans or doing something different and
Yeah.
making it okay to that you give each kid based on what they needed.
Yep.
All right. So my next question for you is: by the time this air, right, some teachers might be in week 3, week 4, and wondering like, "Ooh, the last 3 weeks just been not it."
Hmm.
If a teacher feels like their classroom culture isn't where they want it to be, where should they start?
Themselves.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
Tell us more.
that's what I would really say. Did you develop a classroom culture? Do you even know what your culture wants to be, or what you want from your culture, or what is culture? Because I know we keep using that buzzword culture, culture,
Mm-hmm.
culture, but culture is truly what the expectation out of the kids for yourself and how you kind of want your year to go, right? Um, in my capacity as program specialist for Orange County, now I try to instill that into all my teachers. Classroom culture is gonna develop the way you go home at night, how you feel about the profession, how you how long you survive in the profession, how much you want to invest in it, and stuff like that. So I would tell them to start with themselves. If you feel like your classroom culture in week 3 is not healthy and everything like that, have you done some of those intentional things that we've talked about throughout the course of this episode to build that relationship with your students? If you're still treating your students from an arm's length, if you feel like you still don't know them, if you feel like you're not interacting with them, if you don't have buy-in from one, right? I would tell you to invest in yourself or reflect internally and say, do I know what I want from my classroom? How I want my classroom to run. I know there's so many teachers out here, or so many teachers that will probably watch this and say, well, I just want my kids to sit there and listen. But that takes some buy in. That takes you to invest in them. That takes them to understand why that this is happening, right? And it has to be a give and take because we're all human, right? So I would tell them, look at yourself. Be intentional. What is it that you're seeing from your classroom culture that you don't like? And then did you instill those understandings, or did you instill that understanding in your students? And are you practicing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because so often our teachers talk about, well, they just won't sit down and be quiet, right? Or they won't just do this and everything like that. Well, is that the expectation? Has that ever been the expectation? And what happens when they're not meeting it, right? So many people are fearful of, um, well, he just won't listen. Well, have you talked to him? Right? Have you developed an understanding of why they're not listening, or maybe what they're going through? And I just don't want to put it on the teacher, also on the teacher to do that, right? It's also, if you're not getting good classroom culture, have you set clear expectations for your way of work? Right, because is it maybe what you're doing on the back end? Are you piling up too much that's creating that intense feeling of, well, I have to get all this done, right? Be a planner, be a prepper. I think if there's one thing I want to pass on to our teachers is planning leads to success. And planning is not just the curriculum that we keep talking about. It's the delivery. It's the moments. And to not sound cliche, once again, make it fun, make it interesting. Introduce a little bit of your personality, right? You will be so amazed how the kids love to know something about you. You
They
know?
do. Think about it. They don't even. They see us once, and they still want to be like. They still want to know something about you, but outside of your name, outside of
Yeah,
your badge.
yeah.
Like I had one kid was like, "Miss, do you have kids?"
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
And but it turned into a compliment. Like,
Hmm.
and I was just like, "No, not yet." And he's
Yeah.
like, "You're gonna be a great mom one
Yeah,
day."
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then when I think about not just planning your lessons, but embedding moments for kids to talk,
Yeah.
because in a professional learning, you don't want us to talk at you the whole time.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you don't want to talk at them the whole time. So think
Yes.
about how you what are some opportunities I can plan for
Hmm.
them to talk
Yeah.
about the content, and then continue building that culture. I'm expecting you to talk about the content, and
Yeah.
then keep shifting it.
And if I could say one more thing to that point of, if you don't feel like your culture is where you want it to be, um, have you created that space to allow the kids to express themselves? And for my teachers who are listening to this and everything like that, forgive me, please. I know it sounds like we're giving up a lot of the reins, but trust me, do it gradually. Are you giving up the space? Take 5 minutes. Maybe one of your bell works is, tell me something, how your day went yesterday. and have them share it out. I know that doesn't look content aligned, right? But we'll get to the content. I promise you, we'll get there, right? So be intentional. Create those things, create those avenues and everything like that. Even if you are somebody who loves to cook, or if you're somebody who loves flowers and everything like that, decorate your classroom in that manner. That's going to invite kids to be like, why does it look this way? So, yeah, just do those things in my perspective.
And when you think about it, some of those strategies, some of those collaborative structure, they always tell you to do it fun first. So
Yes.
you get them to talk about the fun stuff first, because now they're not thinking about the structure. They're just
Hmm.
thinking, I can't wait to tell my friend like my favorite movies, blah blah.
Yeah.
And then the next time you use that structure, now you're like, okay, now tune and talk
Hmm.
about math.
Yeah.
That it's already there, because now it makes it a little bit easy versus like,
Hmm.
okay, we're gonna engage in discourse and you're gonna
Hmm.
talk about math. They're not gonna do that right away.
Yeah, and make it relatable. Like if you're making it relatable, I can't tell you how many times that I talk about um things are things that they can relate to, or using things that are in their lives to make my content relatable. I was fortunate enough to teach civics, but every content area has the ability to create a relatable point or aspect where kids could kind of buy into the conversation.
That's true. That's true. Because
Mm.
even in math, I remember one time I went to St. Louis and then they had like that one monument, but it's shaped like a parabola.
Yeah.
So then I took a picture of it just so I could tell them like math in the real world. Okay.
See, you would have lost me there. Are we talking about the arch to the
Yeah,
west?
the art.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
talked. So I used that to introduce the lesson.
Exactly, and that would have been interesting to me because I know about the arch, but what about it mathematically that makes it interesting and unique? That's what would have got me as a kid.
Yeah,
So
so then when we start talking about graphing it, because what questions they ask you all the time, when am I ever going to use this, right?
exactly,
So
exactly.
by connecting it to something that was in real world
Hmm.
aspect, it made it a little bit more engaging for the kids. And we even talked about basketball, like when you're shooting the ball,
Yeah,
like it goes up and it's gonna come back down. Like the
exactly.
angle you shoot it from matter.
Yeah.
So connecting those concepts with like real world experiences, and they'd be like, "Miss, no, it doesn't."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
It
And
really
I
does.
messaged them. I be like, I did my eyebrows today. That was geometry. I had
Yeah.
to make sure my lines were parallel.
Exactly. Exactly.
But is it ever too late to reset a classroom culture?
No, it's never too late. Um, and if you perceive it to be too late, that's where I say to you this: did you reflect internally? Right? Have you given up? Because if you're truly believing that it's too late, then you have given up on that classroom. You have given up on that year. I pretty much want to say you conceded. Um, I don't think it's ever too late because, like I said, that culture comes from you, right? How you want to live your life. That classroom is an extension of your living space, right? We live in our classrooms pretty much all year. So when people come in your home, you expect them to behave a particular way, right? Or you want to live in a particular manner. It's never too late, right? If you want to lose weight, you change your habits, right?
Definitely.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. It's interesting that you talk about culture, because I was talking to a coach 2 episodes ago,
Hmm.
and that was one of the biggest things. He's like, if you want to build a successful team,
Hmm.
you want to spend your first year establishing a good culture.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter the loss, the win the first year, but establish the culture,
Hmm.
and the culture will keep the players coming. And
Yes.
then your third year, you can focus on
Yeah. Any
winning
teacher that's
games.
watching this episode, I would say, from my journeyman to the people who have been somewhere for 10, 20 years, right? Why are you there? If you're there for 10, 20 years, what kept you there? It had to be some semblance of the culture. Or you may have not necessarily wanted to venture off, but there has to be something that's keeping you there, right? Or for my people who type to venture off and be like, well, I'm going to go over here because I think this is going to be better. What led you to leave that place? Was it the culture? So I think about culture is just that root of developing that relationship, building those relationships. It's what gets you motivated to keep going, right? It's what, when you're not only just the culture aspect of it, culture encompasses many different things, but culture is all encompassing of that sense of motivation, that sense of striving to succeed. Culture is the relationships that we build and so on and so forth. So culture is definitely a motivating tool that keeps people happy where they work and keeps our students happy to learn. So, yeah.
All right. We talked about the discourse a bit. What if I'm a teacher and yes, I plan the discourse, but I can't get the kids to talk? What would you say?
Ah, that's great. So you plan the discourse, but you can't get the kids to talk. So I would say start small. Start small. Think about the ways that you're introducing the topic. Going back to that relatability conversation that I had mentioned to you, I taught civics. So it was making it relatable of Nike versus Adidas,
Mm-hmm.
right? In terms of a conversation. Maybe root your conversation about the discourse that you planned in something that they can relate to, or give them something interesting to kind of latch onto in terms of why. But set the stage. Essentially, is what I'm saying. Sets the stage for why activity is going to be so important for this discourse. And then the second thing I would tell them too is if they're not necessarily talking, is your activities rooted in the way that they learn, right?
Mm. Okay.
Because so have you evaluated the curriculum and in the manner or the lesson plan to way your students learn, or are you just applying it as like everybody's on this particular level? Because we know from class period to class period, every student is different. Every kid every year is different. So have you really truly looked at your data and evaluated it to ensure that it's meeting the needs of the students that you currently have? So.
And another layer made me think of what kind of questions you ask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, if I put a math problem and I release you to talk about the answer, you may not have known how to get started. So then now you don't have nothing to contribute to
Exactly.
to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But if I took a moment to just ask you something as simple like, "What did you notice?" or "What
Mm-hmm.
did you wonder?"
Mm-hmm.
and create that low floor, high ceiling where every kid can talk about what they noticed. Some
Mm-hmm.
kids might go into all the academic words and telling you, I saw
Mm-hmm.
the y-intercept was here,
Yeah.
I saw this. And then a kid might just be able to say, well, I saw a line. Go to I saw a graph, I saw a
Mm-hmm.
line.
Mm-hmm.
And then it creates that environment where everybody can contribute. So I'll say also being mindful that, you're adding those scaffolds, like what do you
Yes.
notice? What are you wondering?
Mm-hmm.
Getting them to talk about those before they just talk about what the solution is.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think you said it perfectly. The scaffolds, right? If you've been intentional with your scaffolds, maybe the question that you're asking is a little bit too high up for them at the moment in time, right? So maybe you may have to build that foundation a little bit more, right? Give
Mm-hmm.
them one little tidbit to build off of, right? Oh, they understand this. Then, hey, can you understand that this relates to this? Oh, okay, this does. So scaffolding up for them is very important.
All right. Can you share a moment when classroom discussion completely changed students' learning?
Oh man. And going back to our conversation about this course and why I love this course so much in the classroom, I think my favorite moment where this course and engaging with the students led to a change moment in our way our students learn is my first year. Um, I built in that classroom culture throughout the course of the year. I used to have a mic, and I walked around that mic.
Okay,
Yeah, I used
that's
to have a mic.
I can picture that.
I mean, I have a deep voice that carries and everything like that, but I used to carry around a mic every so often because I had a pretty big classroom, and I would carry around as I'm walking around, and I would talk on it. And the kids love seeing me use the mic. The kids used to run and try to get my mic for me, and like, hey, you want me to get your mic for you and everything like that. And so eventually, then I started giving the mic to students as they answered to propel their voices,
Mm-hmm.
right? To because they saw that they liked me using it, they wanted to use it as well. So I started giving kids the ability to answer the questions using the mic, right? So as I would ask the question out loud, I'll come over to them, give them the mic and everything like that, and then it turned to not only did I give you the mic to answer the question, to ask somebody else a question.
Oh.
And then eventually developed to when we got into probably around February or March and everything like that. Not saying that my kids were running the class, but they kind of led the learning, right? So I'll have a student teacher and I'll be like, so and so, you are going to be my student teacher for the day. So they'll be the one handing out the papers. They'll be the ones reading off the slide and kind of letting them know where we're starting off. I was there to address the misconceptions, right? And that discourse and the development of the discourse throughout the course of the year, they wanted to all raise to the level of expectation, right? Especially when it was a student teacher, because I want to show you why you're wrong. You get what I'm saying? Like the student teacher will give that student teacher was so confident in their ability to lead the class and with the content, which created the space for them to have the courage to stand up in front of their peers and stand there with a mic and try to replicate me. And then it also led to them wanting their peers wanting to prove to their colleague not only did they know the answer, but to the everybody around them that we're working together towards this answer. So I think that was a moment where I learned that it's powerful to give the kids the space to talk, right? It's powerful to give them the ability, and even if they're wrong, like I said, going back to I think a point I made
And I think
earlier.
we dare to
Yeah,
correct those misconceptions or ask questions, probing questions that
yeah,
get them to.
exactly. And if they give you a misconception, why? Why did you think that?
Mhm.
Right? Even if it's totally off base, what made you get there? I don't know. There we go. You didn't necessarily root your understanding in your learning process or what you have learned about the topic. You were just guessing, right? So let's think about it. What do you understand about this topic? Reflect on that a little bit more, and then maybe give me an answer a little bit later. That's how I would approach it.
I think it's a beautiful place when you get to the space where the kids are in the classroom. Because
Yeah,
I had that.
yeah,
And for a lot of teachers, I don't know, it might be uncomfortable because
it
at that
is.
point, it almost feels like they
You've let
could
go
literally do this without
out you.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they might just need you to introduce the new concept.
Hmm.
But after that,
Yeah,
like they could literally, like I'll watch my kids, they will engage in the activity, and then one of them, till this day, I still want to know if she went to become a teacher
yeah,
because she'll be like, just give me the lesson. I got
yeah.
it.
Got you.
And then she'll go on the board and she'll start calling on people. Okay, we picked this one. This is wrong.
Hmm.
Let's talk about it. Why is it wrong? And then they start having discussion on
Hmm.
if you picked A, this is the misconception. I
Hmm.
didn't even need to correct it. It's just, they start talking about if you
Agreed.
pick A, here's why
Hmm.
somebody may have picked A. Here's what's
Hmm.
wrong with it.
Hmm.
And if you pick B, this is
Hmm.
what you were thinking. And then they will start talking with each other. And then I'll just be, I'm just present.
Yeah, you're present. And I think that's such a powerful moment when you see them learning from one another and engaging in the conversations. I think the point that I wanted to make about that, excuse me, was the fact of when not only when they are so passionate about leading the learning, it leads them to make mistakes and learn from them, right? It also gives you the ability to say be supportive of maybe a dream of theirs, right? And their ability to do that, because like I think about the fact that you're saying I wonder if she became a teacher. So I think the point where I'm trying to get to is understanding of like when they have taken control of the learning, isn't that the goal?
That's the goal.
Isn't that the goal though?
But as a teacher, to me, it's like it's such a beautiful space
Mm-hmm.
to be. It didn't happen day one. I
No.
don't, and I think because people be like, when I say you make it sounds like a dream world, like it didn't happen day one.
Mm-hmm.
But like I had those same kids. I taught them algebra, and then they got to the place where I teach them geometry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, the last 2 quarters of geo,
Mm-hmm.
they knew the expectation. Like the dean would be like, "You wasn't here. I couldn't even tell you wasn't here," because
Yeah.
they'll walk in and they'll just
Yeah.
run the classroom like the way
Yeah.
they got used to running.
Yeah.
It took time for us to get there, but it was.
And that's what I'm going to say to any teacher who's watching this. Don't think that this is just overnight and we're making it seem so simplistic. And I know behaviors may be a thing, and I know behaviors are the issue. And I know that there's so many factors that go into controlling and trying to deal with behaviors. But it is that intentional aspect of did you develop those relationships, not only just the supports of your school, but are you developing those relationships? What are you doing in your classroom? How do you handle situations and adversity in your classroom? Because if you always run into administration, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not in control, but it doesn't necessarily show that the kids that you have the ability to deal with the situation in that moment, right? And they kind of look at it as you're just gonna keep telling on them. So when they take over that learning, I can't say, and I'm this just to not belabor this point a little bit too long, but I love the fact that when I used to walk in my classroom in those days, and they know it will be a teaching day, because not every day was a teacher led day or a student led day, but when it was those days, I would have kids like I had a folder space where if kids were missing work, they'd be like, "All right, go get your missing work, and everybody go turn in your folders, and where's your interactive notebooks?" And oh, I see a backpack at your desk. Your backpack's supposed to be in the back of the classroom. Those expectations, and I didn't even have to say it myself, and so it just put a smile on my face. So yeah.
And if even if you're just starting, I think one of the things for me that worked, I knew I didn't want kids to be like, "Hey Miss, I need a pencil. Hey Miss, I need a pencil.
Exactly.
Hey Miss, I need a
Yeah,
pencil."
yeah.
So I used to pick a kid that was responsible, and I would give them a pencil pouch and a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they come in, they grab the pencil pouch, they grab the notebook. So everybody who needed a pencil,
Mm-hmm.
before I start,
Mm-hmm.
you needed to go to that person, sign your name, grab a pencil for them. Before you leave, you return that pencil to that
Mm-hmm.
same person.
Mm-hmm.
Because then now it freed me from having to manage pencil, paper, da da da.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could be at the door greeting a kid as they were coming in, like paper. Everybody knows, okay, you come in, it'll literally say student A from each group grab the paper. So they grab 4 papers,
Mm-hmm.
they bring everybody's folder down, it goes in your folder. So if you was absent, the paper's in your folder.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me because I don't
Yeah.
no. So I set it up in a way where it became self sufficient. Like
Yes.
all the stuff is in there. You get a pencil from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But so by the time it's time for me to teach, I'm just okay. Let's do this problem. Let's engage. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do all those things.
And I think that comes from that consistency. And once again, going back to that word culture, but culture is encompassing of those structures and systems in place, right? Because the culture becomes healthy if you have good systems and structures.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody knows what's expected of them, that leads to a healthy culture. So yeah.
All right. Well, what an episode, right?
I hope so. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Yeah.
I did, and
Thank you.
I hope they find value in it as well. So, looking back, first year of teaching, what do you wish someone had told you?
This is going to be a Ricardo centric question.
It is.
And a Ricardo centric answer, actually. Let me say that. The emotional aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
how much of an emotional toll it could take on you. Because I say that because I'm one of those people. A little bit more about myself. I know this was the very first question, but I grew up in Rosemont, Florida, in Pine Hills, Florida, for the part of my life, and then I grew up in Point Siena, Florida. And as a kid who comes from a little bit of a disadvantaged background, I'm always looking to try to lift those kids out of that circumstance, right? Try
Mm-hmm.
to tell them and show them that life could be so much better than what they think it is or what they're currently experiencing. So that emotional aspect of seeing kids go through things, hearing their experiences. I've heard kids go through so many traumas that as a 35-year-old man, that I can't imagine experiencing. So that aspect of the emotional toll that it takes to interact with the kids and see them go through stuff and have experiences, but it's also the most rewarding because I have a student. Her name is Maya Hurd, and she was one of my favorite students coming up, and I still keep up with her now, right? And I still reach out and I try to keep up as much as I can. I could do a better job, but it's the development of the relationship. So the emotional toll and how much, and that just may be a me thing and everything like that, but how much I try to pour in and how much I care. I wish I would have known, hey, don't get so invested so much, but at the same time, I think it's what creates that passion for me for this profession. So yeah.
And when you talked about like the emotional toll, I remember having one group of kids for 3 years in a row,
Mm,
and I was not ready. I
yeah.
was not mentally ready when it was time
Mm-hmm.
to break away from them, and they
Mm-hmm.
were not ready either.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Okay, why can't you leave with us? Why can't we go to high school together?" And I was like, "But I need you to experience somebody else.
Exactly.
Like you had 3 years with me because I had them in sixth
Mm-hmm.
grade, and I looped with them and taught them algebra one. Then I looped
Mm-hmm.
with them and taught them geo,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like." We're not leaving this place. Like you coming with us, and I was just like, I'm not.
Yeah.
But for me, it was hard because it was just like they were like my kids.
Yes,
Like
they're your
I grew
babies.
to
Yeah.
love them, look
Mm-hmm.
forward to seeing them. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think emotionally I was ready,
Mm-hmm.
and COVID happened,
Yeah.
so we never got a chance to say goodbye.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
I felt like that was the only goodbye that would have been a proper goodbye because
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine any other goodbye that would.
In the moment of
Yeah,
like,
no.
yeah, like a
Mm-mm.
normalcy of like, oh, I actually have to physically see you leave and everything like that. Yeah, I couldn't have imagined that. And
I wasn't ready, and even
yeah.
for the parents, because they're like, I remember when the kids passed algebra one, and like the parents were in the room. The room was filled with so much emotions, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just like, oh my gosh, like my baby gets to
Mm-hmm.
graduate high school. Like this is no longer
Mm-hmm.
something that's looping over their head.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how do I say goodbye to like
Mm-hmm.
all of this? So
Yeah.
I don't think I was ready, and
Yeah.
that's something to consider.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it,
Oh
knowing
yeah.
that
a
you
hundred
got to
percent.
build solid relationship with all these kids,
Yeah.
and then they go on to become members of societies. And
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry because I
there you go.
know, but my last point on that too is like honestly, yeah, like seeing when the kids like develop into something more, or like I said, running into Wakaiva this year and seeing the kids and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, I'm going to the military, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to study this. I always used to tell my kids, I don't want you to aspire to be a doctor or lawyer just to be a doctor or lawyer. I just want you to aspire to be the best person you could possibly be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if the best person you possibly be is a father or a mother to many kids, and you take care of your family and you live just a solid life, I feel like I'm successful. If you become an astronaut, successful as well. But just don't go backwards. That's my biggest thing. So that's why that emotional toll and that emotional investment is so keen for me, because it's like I just want everybody to succeed. You get what I'm saying? I want
Mm-hmm.
everybody to do well.
And success look different for
Yeah,
each kid.
yeah.
I love that you said that. The same person 2 episodes ago shared like his passion. Success for him wasn't that the kids moved on to play pro balls or
Mm-mm.
anything like that. But success for him was like seeing all his players becoming good husbands, like
Mm-hmm.
becoming good fathers in
Mm-hmm.
society. He was like, so it wasn't even like
Mm-hmm.
there, but I wanted them to become good members of society, and
That's it.
it's impactful.
Yep.
Well, Ricardo, thank you so much for sitting with us
Mm-hmm.
today. What an episode. I have one question for you. When you hear the word power of a teacher, what comes to mind? Finish that sentence.
The power of a teacher
Is.
is connection
Oh.
with your peers, with the students, with your family. It's teaching is such a worthy profession, and such a it's something that I know we don't get paid enough for.
Mm-hmm.
And connection is what you're gonna get your biggest bang for your buck. It's going to be the thing that motivates you to go on to the next school year. It's going to be the thing that brings the students back to visit you. It's going to be the thing that makes you um, get any claim or any awards for it or anything like that. Connection. Build those connections. That's what the power of a teacher is.
Connection. I like that. I
Thank you.
really, really like that. If this is your last question, so thinking about anyone that's listening to you today, what is one change they can make in their classroom tomorrow to create a healthy culture?
Self investment or self assessment, sorry. Self
Mm-hmm.
assessment. Do a self assessment. Ask yourself, what do you want from this year? What do you want from this profession? What do you want to do 5 years from now? I know I'm sounding like a life planner, but no, actually ask yourself, because if you are sitting there right now and you're questioning whether or not this profession is for you, or you're going into it maybe a little bit too overconfident, think about what you really want from this experience. How do you want your day to day to be? How do you want to bring happiness? If you want to turn off work from once you get home, how are you setting the stage for yourself to turn it off, right? Be intentional, plan, and build connections with others that can help you build out the classroom that you want. So that's the biggest thing I would say.
I I like that. And I think if I could sum up everything you talked about, it's literally you have the power to create the classroom that you want.
Yeah.
So it's just
You're the captain of your own ship.
what are you gonna do with all that?
Exactly.
Well, Ricardo, thank you for sitting with us. Thank you for sharing your expertise. This is one of my favorite part of the show where I get to read a letter that's
Okay.
written by a student
Mm-hmm.
to a teacher that has impacted their life.
Gotcha.
This letter right here is to Miss DeGraff that taught at Bonita Middle School. And let's go to it.
Mm.
There are teachers who do their job, and then there are teachers who go far beyond it. You are one of those teachers for me. As an ELL student, I was fortunate to have you my first year. When language felt like a bit barrier, you made learning accessible. You translated, you explained, and you created a space where I could understand and grow instead of feeling left behind. But what made the biggest difference was your belief in me. You encouraged me to enroll in advanced classes, even when I wasn't sure I belonged there. You saw potential in me before I fully saw it in myself. Years later, I became a classroom teacher. I had the opportunity to stand in front of my own students and be for them what you had been for me. Someone who believed in them, challenged them, and reminded them of what they were capable of. Then my journey took me beyond my own classroom, and I became a program specialist, supporting teachers and students across multiple classrooms. And whenever I see any ELL students struggling, I think of you. I think about how you made learning accessible without lowering expectations. You helped me understand while still believing I was capable of doing challenging work. Sometimes I wonder if you knew that the little girl you were translating for will one day become a teacher, and that teacher will eventually go on to support other teachers. That's the power of a teacher. Ms. DeGraff, the seeds you planted in me grew. Your impact didn't stop with me. It followed me into my classrooms and then into every classroom I've had the privilege of supporting. You didn't just help me learn English, you helped me find my voice. So, from the ELL student I was, to the classroom teacher I became, to the program specialist I am, thank you for seeing me, thank you for believing in me, and thank you for showing me the power of a teacher with love and gratitude. And that's for me. Well, with that being said, this wrapped up another episode of Power of a Teacher. Remember, you have the power to shift your classroom to create the classroom that you desire. So we hope you have an amazing week. Thank you for joining us.